Hello and welcome to MLW Confusion. I'm your host Rob Cameron, bringing you all that you may or may not need to know about Major League Wrestling and its television programming. Hey, we actually have MLW content, so let's get to it, shall we? Well, okay, that's a lie. We're going to talk about the news first, but after the news, I promise we will talk about Anniversary 2024. But first, as I said, a handful of things come down through the wire. I am going to talk some spoilery things here as well after I get to like the big backstage news chunks of it. Just because I'm not going to lie, it's been a week, so I feel if you haven't been spoiled by now by social media or whatever, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, good job hiding in the bunker in between the real show and listening to this review that dropped almost a week later. But yeah, so we have some news coming out of the Blood and Thunder taping. So we'll do the spoiler stuff first, get it out of the way, and then maybe you can come back in a bit. So that's July 12th on YouTube at the Coliseum in St. Petersburg, Florida. Two batch of tapings. One will be live, and then of course, like 2 weeks later, they will have the secondary show. On the secondary show, it looks to be Alex Kane is going to be in action. No opponent announced, though. If I have to make a guess, it's probably going to be Mr. Thomas. Those two, for some odd reason, have been paired against each other in the Opera Cup brackets, so it might be Mr. Thomas, but, the tapings haven't been fully set in place yet, so it could be someone else as well. So, either way, Alex Kane done with Flop Dollar, looking to make his next move, and that could possibly be the Opera Cup itself. Speaking of Flop Dollar, it looks like he is on the outs with WTF. And before I go into it, I just want to put out there, how much of a flop do you have to be if you've been kicked out of WTF? Because, statistically, WTF are kind of a bag of goobers. I use the word statistically, of course, because, they shouldn't be goobers. I've gone on this tirade before that WTF shouldn't be goobers considering who's in the group, but their win-loss record isn't the best. And so for you to be on the outs with WTF, dude, really? Anyway, we know he's on the outs with WTF because he will be battling WTF member Davey Boy Smith Jr., and they have noted that promoter extraordinaire, legitimate promoter extraordinaire, Mr. St. Laurent will be in Davey Boy Smith's corner. So I'm curious to see what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. It's an interesting wrinkle in the WTF wallet, if you will. Now, looking over at the main card of Blood and Thunder, again, July 12th on YouTube, St. Petersburg, Florida, in the Coliseum, Kenta is going to be making his debut. This is really big for MLW, actually. A member of the Bullet Club coming in for MLW and taking part in their Opera Cup tournament. Kenta is going to be battling Bobby Fish in the first round of said tournament. It's going to be a pretty kick-heavy battle, I do declare. Not necessarily spectacular. That is not a marquee matchup by any stretch of the imaginations, but it shouldn't be a bad match at all, actually. It might be a sleeper match of the evening. Don't get me wrong, MLW's been pretty good at bringing in folk of some name value, but in terms of this New Japan partnership and bringing in people in their prime, this is a big one, comparatively speaking. Sure, Satoshi Kojima is the world champ. Sure, Minoru Suzuki is in Contra wrecking things, but this is Kenta, the inventor of Go to Sleep and member of the Bullet Club. So this is kind of a big effing deal here, ladies and gentlemen, putting that $20 million to good use. A little bit more on that chunk of it later. We are also, spoiler alert, because this also comes in during the anniversary tapings, a no-rope death match with the number one contendership, Battle Riot number one contendership on the line as our favorite fast food breakfast sandwich takes on Sami Callihan. And let's be realistic, I'm just going to zone out during this match, but I do like the thought of the number one contendership going to literally anybody else. Okay, maybe not literally. I'm pretty sure you can come up with a batch of folks that I don't want to see the number one contendership on. But if of the current MLW roster, literally anyone else, give it to BRG, man. I'll even take BRG, even if it doesn't make a lick of narrative sense to do so. But that's beside the point. That is also a match that is coming up down the line. And last but not least, bombshell at the top of the show, at the end of the show, Salina de la Renta is preggers. Salina de la Renta is with child. Natalia Class is 5 months pregnant, as per her social media. But for this here storyline purposes, yeah, she is going to reveal who the baby daddy is, at least the kayfabe baby daddy, at Blood and Thunder. Names are running rampant throughout social media. Over at the Urban Wrestling Network, we've already dropped a video on our picks. We gave like one legit pick. Most of us think Bad Dude Dito is going to be the dad. And then we dropped like a crazy pick just for fun, which included Notorious BRG, Richard Holiday, and my personal pick, Mads Krugger. That's right, Contra, Promociones Dorado, shaking hands, forming a mega corporation. But yeah, so that is allegedly happening at Blood and Thunder as well. So we're getting all the telenovela, folks. All the telenovela. All right, now it is time. So, like, if you guys left to avoid the spoilers, you can come back in now. Come back in, let's talk about it. Backstage, we got two very big hires for MLW as in the role of production. The first of which, Dave Marquez has been promoted to head of production. He's been doing various backstage work for MLW this past year and has most notably been seen on screen as a backstage interviewer. Marquez has 20 years of professional wrestling experience underneath him, and like he's done quite well for himself in the realm of professional wrestling, so this is a solid get for MLW. But also, they nabbed another name, and this guy's worked for him before. David Sahadi is now executive producer for MLW, and he's got 30 years of professional wrestling experience, and he's worked with WWE, TNA, worked for a moment with MLW as well. But like, yeah, 30 years of production experience in the realm of professional wrestling. You really can't beat that. And he's the new executive producer for MLW. And it is really nice to see them like putting in into the production side of things. So hopefully production will pick up a bit, because let's face it, the original Battle Riot production was not great. The production side of things on that, with the missed camera angles and the low battery sign and some of the sound issues as well. But yeah, like, this is a big step up for MLW, and I'm hoping like the writing, the creative will keep pace with what they're doing backstage in terms of what they're doing for video packages. And I'm hoping this leads to more production packages as well that they can drop during the breaks in between the two monthly specials that MLW's doing, because they don't do a whole lot necessarily in between the two broadcasts, and they really need to, drop some videos in between to help keep interest moving. So I'm really excited to see where this is going to go. So, all right. So there's your news for the week. Let's take a pause, and we will talk Anniversary. In the meanwhile, take a deep breath, get yourself an energy drink. I'll be back. Un momento. If you're like me, sometimes you need a pick-me-up to get you through the day. I drink Ray's Energy for that pickup. Ray's comes in a bunch of different flavors, and more recently Italian Ice, which is great, by the way. And it contains no sugar, so there's no crash after you drink it. And really, like, best of all, if you go through me and go to wetrepsports.com, use my code CASS, you get 15% off your order. So, also, be like Cass, drink Ray's Energy. All right, let's talk about it. Anniversary 2024, the big YouTube event. I guess they're all big YouTube events now because they're done with Triller TV. But this is celebrating the 22nd anniversary, at least chronologically, of MLW. We're just going to ignore, the like 13 years that MLW, went on hiatus or whatever. But, whatever. Never mind that. The important thing is we have a show tonight, and interspersed throughout the show, we're going to see like highlights of MLW, especially the early years. Throughout the night, we're going to see clips of CM Punk, Raven in his youth, in his upper middle age, I guess. The Extreme Horsemen, Steve Corino, Dusty Rhodes, Terry Funk, our favorite fast food breakfast sandwich, Swerve Strickland, etc., etc., etc. And I'm not going to explicitly cover those clips throughout the show because if you got YouTube, you can find them. There's no point in reviewing just nostalgia clips that aren't even entire matches. But that being said, we start off with the recap of Battle Riot, going over the ups and downs, the wins, the losses, the big surprise of Cesar Duran being Salina de la Renta's Poppy, and all that sort of good stuff. But we're actually going to start the live portion of the show with sessions with Saint Laurent. And MSL's out. He's doing his MSL thing. I'm taking a nap at this point when he finally announces his guest, which had been pre-announced as Paul Walter Hauser, Stingray, fighter from Battle Riot, amongst other Hollywood and wrestling notes. MSL runs down Hauser and his career. MSL wants a Golden Globe and an Emmy and all sorts of accolades, and so Hauser just kind of poops all over Saint Laurent, rightfully so. I'm still napping at this point because for whatever reason Hauser doesn't have it for this segment, and he's not keeping me awake either. But he also plugs Atlanta, it's center stage, wrestling history. Finally, though, Hauser has enough, slaps and kicks Saint Laurent before, thankfully, Filthy Tom Lawler comes out the steel chair to wake up the crowd for a moment, tees off, swings away at the downed Hauser to end the segment. And yeah, it was painful, even painful by MSL standards, because it was just, it was boring. It was boring. Basically, it was just an excuse, which rightfully should. You should do this. You got him there. Use him as much as you can. But have Paul Walter Hauser out in front of the crowd. And unfortunately, this segment just completely fell flat until at least a steel chair came out, which that'll wake me up, every time. It just, match is terrible, bring out a chair, and I will magically pay attention to it. However, speaking of things going on that need me to wake up, we have our first match of the evening. It is Adam Priest versus Bobby Fish. We have a feeling out process going back and forth. Fish takes over with kicks and a dragon screw. Priest immediately comes back only to eat 2 exploders, the second one into the turnbuckle, and there's our match. It was really short. I'm not sure what the purpose was. Okay, I know the purpose is Bobby Fish is in the Opera Cup. They want him to look good, especially when we get some news coming up here in a bit. They want him to look good. But they really put over Priest on commentary just for him to utterly poop the bed. This was a nothing burger of a match. It doesn't matter how hot and up and coming you are if you lose in 3 minutes to a 50-year-old Bobby Fish. I don't want to totally slander Bobby Fish. He can still go in the ring. But I'm not sure he's a guy I want to put over anybody I'm calling a young, hot up-and-comer. Just putting it out there. Or at least not doing it in what is basically a squash match. Priest had, no time to shine or anything like that. It was pretty darn quick. But yeah, but speaking of Fish and the Opera Cup, he's going to be in the Opera Cup. We have an Opera Cup, the whole history of the Opera Cup. We break down the brackets. There is going to be a mystery competitor revealed later tonight. That was actually a pretty big deal. But there's some interesting little things. They've announced some matches, but the actual brackets, they hadn't announced the full tournament. But I'm curious because one of the matches is Mr. Thomas and Alex Kane. So I'm curious to see where we're going with that. I can try to speculate wildly, but none of it is good, especially with sometimes my track record of being right, despite not having any affiliation with MLW and its creative team. So yeah. Luckily though, things start picking up from here. At least it does for me anyway. I won't speak for you, because wrestling is subjective. But speaking of the Opera Cup, we have our first Opera Cup first round match. Davey Boy Smith Jr. with Mr. Saint Laurent takes on Timothy Thatcher. MSL runs down the crowd, but puts over Davey Boy as a potential 3-time Opera Cup winner. Davey's won it twice before. We start the match out with real graps. I mean, that's most of this match is real real graps. I mean, these two, they really put over, the commentary really puts over the catch wrestling aspect, and like, in almost anything Timothy Thatcher does, just hook it to my veins. And Davey Boy Smith is no slouch in the actual wrestling department either. But they are trading holds, going back and forth. Thatcher, though, does take more advantage and starts working over the arm. However, Davey Boy Smith has the power advantage and launches him outside. We get a big suplex on the arena floor. That couldn't have felt pretty. Inside the ring, we go back and forth, trading slides, or trading strikes before Thatcher gets a 2 out of a backslide. Following this, we get some pin trade attempts. Davey Boy actually gets the visual pin at one point. Like the ref, I don't know, the ref had to go get a drink or something. But like turns around and is like talking to the timekeeper. Meanwhile, Davey Boy has like does like a 5 count. Like he has his own 3 and the ref counts 2. So I have no clue what's going on with that. We go back and forth. We get a snap DDT by Davey Boy Smith. Only gets 2 out of that. Then we get to the spot, one of the spots like I do hate. Like regardless of how good a match is and how good the workers are, like I hate. They start trading German suplex, and I hate that. That's like one of those moves that like I'm not saying it's like a pile driver and you need to die after you take it, but like, dude, you just got thrown on your neck, your shoulders, and the back of your head. Like you shouldn't be rolling up and like firing up out of that. And you know that's an indie thing right now. Well, not just right now, it's been for a handful of years, but I just hate that spot. Like yes, there's a lot of wrestling that you need to suspend your disbelief for, but that makes it hard for me. But yeah, they trade German suplex. Davey Boy, however, gets a low kick in and finishes things up with the Liger Bomb to advance to the second round. German suplex rant aside, like I thought this was a very good match. Like both of these guys are excellent ground technical wrestlers, and I love me a good catch match. So I know this match at a certain level never really got out of second gear. So you know, if you are wanting a fast-paced, hard-hitting affair, this is not the match for you. Like that's fine. You know, but it wasn't a bad match per se. Like I will roll my eyes if you call it boring. Don't get me wrong, I will do that, but I will accept that you don't think it's a good match. Just say like, oh, this is not my bag, and like we'll be good with this. It wasn't a botch fest. It wasn't a quick squash or anything like that. Like this was real graps, as they say at one of the big two. And like it was good. Like my only like other complaint about things is that they keep bringing in Timothy Thatcher, making him such a big deal, and basically hoping he gets over by wrestling good, and they don't give him any victories. They're just like, hey, yeah, Timothy Thatcher, real graps, is here. He's a dangerous competitor. Who is like, you know, over in like his last few years of MLW. Like I'm not gonna lie and tell you I pulled up the stats. I didn't, but like I legit can't remember Timothy Thatcher winning a match in MLW. So, you know, there's that. That overall, though, does not detract from the quality of the match itself. It's just some of the booking of it, or some of the booking of the competitors, you know, I side-eye. After the match, Dave Marquez interviews MSL and Davey Boy Smith Jr. They try to sing "Oh Canada," you know, take that for what it's worth. But luckily, the crowd doesn't deserve the entire song or to hear the beauty that is Davey Boy Smith Jr.'s voice singing that. Following this, we get our announcement for our mystery competitor in the Opera Cup, debuting at Blood and Thunder. It is the master of the GTS, Kenta. Dude, like this was actually news. Like this is actually a big effing deal. Bringing in Kenta, like ever since he was fired from WWE, he's been killing it out in New Japan, killing it on the indie scene throughout America as well. And so like this is actually legit big news, and I'm actually excited to see where this will go and how long he's going to be hanging around MLW. So hopefully we get some promos out of him for that too, because he is being an utter dickbag. It is glorious. I love it. So yeah, freaking big news. That's freaking amazing, actually. But we're going to move on. Keep on moving. Next match, AKIRA is hanging out with, or excuse me, it's not the next match yet. This is more backstage. I apologize. I just got my hopes up that I saw Akira and he was wrestling instead of this segment where Akira's hanging out with Cozy Max. He's got Coda, his little corgi, with him, and everybody's cool. They all hate Contra. Akira's going to beat down Contra tonight. And a nothing burger of a segment, really. It was just an excuse to put Satoshi Kojima and Okamura on the show, I think. But yeah, so match after this, Jake Crist versus Bad Dude Tito with Salina de la Renta for the National Openweight Championship. Jesus Rodriguez is there to introduce Bad Dude Tito. Jake starts off the match hot. However, Tito is much bigger and much badder than Jake and just launches him over the top rope with a belly-to-belly suplex. Thank goodness this was not the battle riot. Otherwise, Chris would be out already. Outside the ring, Tito hits a big apron powerbomb. Jesus even gets some cheap shots in as well, because that's what he does when he's not in the ring. Exploder into the corner by Tito. That was enough to finish off Adam Priest, so I'm guessing this means that Jake Crist is better than Adam Priest, at least right now. Crist, though, does hit a sunset bomb and mounts a brief comeback, suicide dive, and more high-flying maneuvers. However, he gets caught by a blue thunder bomb, and it gets only a 2 count off of that. Tito catches Crist mid-air, hits a deep 6 for 2. Excuse me, deep 6. No, excuse me, that was End of Days. Like, he's breaking out like all of Baron Corbin's moves. Yeah, so sorry, he actually hits. I don't know why I messed that one up. Like, usually I'm pretty darn good at calling moves, and that's like the only thing I'm good at. And yeah, no, that was totally Baron Corbin's finisher, like out of midair. End of Days. Anyway, 2 count, though. That's the important thing. 2 count, though. Jake follows up with a roundhouse kick. However, Jesus distracts the referee, and we get an appearance from the notorious BRG. Brett Ryan Goslin is up on the ring apron. Jake is going to go take care of that. However, that distraction allows Tito to hit the Tequila Sunrise to retain the National Openweight Championship. Backstage, Dave Marquez is with Cesar Duran. He's always wanted the best for Salina, and sometimes the best just means he couldn't be there physically for her. However, he does note that just like everything else, Salina's being a little bit of a disappointment, and Father's Day is already happened, so her gift is late. Following this, a more Opera Cup action as Ikuro Kwon of Contra takes on Akira. We basically just start the match off immediately. As soon as everyone gets in the ring, we get immediately into a suplex into the knee by Kwon. Then lots of kicks. Akira briefly outsmarts Kwon before getting like lawn darted off a monkey flip, like face first into the middle turnbuckle. Akira with the violence parties and forearms into the corner. However, Ikuro Kwon it's a full Nelson, lifted into a neck breaker, and makes 2 count for that. They go up to the top rope, and they take turns biting each other on the top turnbuckle. However, Akira hits kind of like a rolling judo throw, a rolling kimura off the top, but it's more of a slam than a roll into submission. This, though, sets up the death penalty to get the 3, advancing to the second round. Akira. This was a sprint of a match. I will say, like this match was short and sweet, but it did it actually, compared to like the first match, like told everything you needed to know about the rivalry between these two, and put on a pretty darn good match that was pretty even to boot as well. So like if you're going to do like a quick match and try to put somebody over that is, well, put the loser over, like this is what you do with it. But yeah, so like it was a solid match. It was short. It probably could have gone on longer. Like I wouldn't have been hurt if it went on longer. But it was what it is. But it was a solid sprint of a match, no matter what. We get an update on Stingray. Paul Walter Hauser is going to the ER due to the attack from Filthy Tom Lawler. Tom Lawler is backstage and basically just says Hauser did that to himself. Hauser is making a mockery of professional wrestling by going out and doing his Hollywood thing and then just coming back here and wrestling just kind of whenever he feels like it and basking in the adulation of the crowd. So it wasn't Tom Lawler with the steel chair. It was Paul Walter Hauser. And now, F it, he's out of the arena. He's done. He's disgusted by everything. Our next match is for the middleweight championship as Star Jr. looks to upend the champion Místico in a lucha exhibition. Should be a good match. We'll find out here in a moment. Start off the match with respect handshake. Good lucha things going back and forth. Suicide dive by Místico. Go inside though, and Star just takes over with a myriad of boots and other stomps and kicks. That was like a nasty big boot to start off things. Loved it. Get a rebound leg drop by Star for only a 2 count. It was kind of like an interesting kind of like, oh crap, something else is happening. So he switches up into a kind of a springboard leg drop off of that. Místico comes back and sends Star to the floor. Lots of brutal kicks by Místico. Gets a 2 count. Like he's even like rocking like the Kawada kicks. Like practically, which you don't see too much in Lucha Libre. Hurricane Rana by Místico gets 2. Star hits the solo Spanish Fly. Please note, it is a solo Spanish Fly. They were at least on the top turnbuckles, so I haven't had this rant in a while. Just remember, the Spanish Fly is a tandem maneuver from the top rope. Anything that isn't a tandem maneuver from the top rope is not technically the Spanish Fly, and you need to modify it, either calling it a solo Spanish Fly, a standing solo Spanish Fly, etc., etc., etc. Anywho, tirade over. And we get like trading off to corner clotheslines. They're running back and forth like madmen before Místico hits a super kick. Star Jr. gets 2 off a springboard splash. Místico, though, fires up. Springboard cross bodies followed up by La Mística. Star Jr. has no choice but to tap. And your winner, and still MLW middleweight champion Místico. Yeah, I don't know what I can say for this match. It was a good lucha match, full of good lucha things. We get respect after the match as well. So like there's no hard feelings in this match. Like as brutal as it got at points. Like this was done sheerly out of the competitive spirit. And Místico retains the championship. He hangs out with Dave Marquez. He cuts a promo primarily in Spanish, though we did catch out that he loves MLW. I do wish my Spanish was a bit better at this point. Otherwise I could have, done a terrible translation of it, but anyway, we'll say it's a hot babyface promo by Místico. Following Místico's promo, we get a promo from Contra. Mads Krugger has rebuilt Contra in his own image, so the black flag is flying high. Hail Contra. Get hail Contras all around, even from Minoru Suzuki. Following this, we have our women's triple threat match as Jazzy Yang and Danny Jordan are making their MLW debuts, battling seasoned competitor from Japan, Miyu Yamashita. Yamashita is looking to get back into title contention, whereas Jazzy and Danny are looking to put their names in the MLW maps. However, Danny just dumps Jazzy to the floor, wants Yamashita one-on-one, and that doesn't go terribly well for her. Jazzy comes in and takes out Yamashita. Jordan knocks out Yang, but Yamashita breaks up a pin attempt off that. Jordan hits a draping DDT for 2. Jazzy follows up with a diving crossbody to the floor. And finally Yamashita hits a stalling fireman's carry slam on Jordan for the win, while Jazzy is still selling her injuries out on the floor. Again, this is kind of a sprint of a match where everybody was just getting their stuff in, and so nothing bad about this. And each competitor got ample opportunity to kind of get their stuff in. Where Jazzy showed, her some of her skills. Like obviously she's still pretty young in the game, but showed her potential with her leading moments. Danny Jordan has some character work in there, showed why she's just kind of being the baddest bitch of the land. And what can I say about Yamashita that I haven't said before? Yamashita is an amazing competitor, and I was actually very impressed by that Stolly fireman's carry, because she just kind of held Jordan up in the air, and not like on her shoulders, like basically like started her up and then just like stopped and like held her like pointed diagonally towards the mat before then slamming her to the mat. But that was a quite fun little match, and hopefully a show of things to come from the new featherweights. Following this, we get a hype package for the Second Gear Crew Contra feud. It's been going on for a bit with casualties, mostly on the Second Gear Crew side. They've been beaten down numerous times. Contra's even beaten down the advisor, new manager for the Second Gear Crew in the form of Bill Alfonso as well. And so we will see a continuation of this feud tonight in our main event, which is coming up here shortly, as Mads Krugger will be battling the one called Manders in a bull rope match. Backstage, Sami Callihan is incensed by the mere existence of our favorite fast food breakfast sandwich. He is challenging him to a match at Blood and Thunder next month, July 12th, on the YouTubes. We also get a brief, we'll call it, award ceremony. I'm not sure what the award is necessarily, like a Lifetime Achievement Award, I guess, for Gary Juster, who's a promoter out of the Atlanta area, done a lot of work with various professional wrestling promotions, did some work with WCW, helped all in up in New York, helped get like Ring of Honor into Madison Square Garden as well. So got a brief little like video package for Gary. We also have the Blood and Thunder control center, and it looks like Callahan McGriddle is going to be official, and it's going to be for our favorite fast food breakfast sandwiches number one contendership Battle Riot victory thingy contract. So basically the winner gets a title shot anywhere, anytime they please, plus the other amounts matches that we've hit up like last week. There hasn't been anything new besides the appearance of Kenta and this here match. So that will take us to our main event of the evening. Mads Krugger of Contra taking on the Second Gear Crew's one called Manders in a bull rope match. This is a standard bull rope match, not like a Caribbean strap match where you have to touch the turnbuckles. Nope, this is just means both competitors are attached by the wrist to a rope, and anything's legal. Gonna has match, gonna be brutal, gonna be great, because one called Manders is gonna get his butt beaten by a much larger, better competitor. Anywho, so start the match off hot. Manders not being a good competitor, not playing in the spirit of fair play or competitorship, just instantly attacks Krugger, doesn't get an entrance in. Krugger's still just hanging out outside the ring when Manders comes at him with the bull rope. We got chokes, we got slaps with the rope, and even with chaps. And I've said this before, where like I really want to make fun of Manders using chaps as a weapon, but like those are legit leather, man. That hurts when you get snapped with them, and they got some weight to him too. However, a tug of war outside results in Manders crashing into the ring post. He's busted open off of that one. Krugger gets a table, throws that into the ring, and then proceeds to hang Manders. Manders survives his attempted hanging and wants some more punishment and eats a bell for those efforts, man. More cowbell indeed. Manders and Krugger go to the top rope and are fighting each other. Krugger gets super play through the table, only gets 2 count off of that. Krugger hits a choke slam, and Manders follows that up immediately with the lariat, but because he's been beaten so badly, he can't follow up with a pinfall. Manders then clocks Krugger with the ring bell and starts choking Krugger for Krugger's efforts, when magically a Janai Kai appears and does kick demon things like kick Manders in the face. And that's really all you need. However, just to put the cherry on top, Krugger nabs Manders in the full Nelson facebuster to get the official pinfall victory. After the match, the ref is sent out of the ring because he's biased, obviously, and they continue to beat down Manders. We have the ceremonial beheading with the Backley stick. Manders is then dragged to the back with the bull rope when Matthew Justice finally decides he wants to intervene. Just now, he gets beaten up for his efforts as they continue to drag Manders to the back. And that kind of that is the end, as I smack all of my chords, of the wrestling part of this show. However, we've been teasing the entire night about Salina de la Renta's Father's Day gift for Cesar Duran. And somewhere in the last 2 weeks, the Father's Day gift is, surprise, a grandbaby. Yep. So, Salina's preggers, and somehow in the last, 2 weeks, her belly went from fairly slender to big bump. That baby grew a lot in 2 weeks, man. I don't think that bump was there before. I could be wrong. I'm going to go back to the footage and check that out. But I'm pretty sure that baby bump was not there before. So the Salina de la Renta, Cesar Duran feud has taken another interesting turn. And I really have no clue where they're going with this at all. Salina has not revealed who that Poppy is. Though, if I just have to throw a name at the dartboard, I'm going to pretty much figure it's Bad Dude Tito, because why not? Which I guess, unless Vince Russo's involved, means that Bad Dude Tito is not Salina's half-brother. But that's another conspiracy theory we could throw out there sometime else. But yeah, so Salina is preggers. Don't know who the daddy is. Cesar is going to be a grandpappy, and that is how we end our show, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy go nuts ending to an otherwise, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty meh. A lot of the stuff, decent, It started off super slow. That opening segment was painful. First match didn't serve any purpose. And from there, it picked up a bit, but some of it was really just kind of what you like in your professional wrestling. So if you didn't like the catch wrestling, the show started off even slower. And I know some folks weren't already enthused with the bull rope match. So there's a sandwich of poop per se. Yeah, so not necessarily the finest effort coming out of this for MLW, and is weird and WTF it is, no pun intended. I am not entirely sure what Salina being preggers and all this is going to mean on the wrestling product, in terms of how storylines are go, or even if if it's a legit pregnancy and she's gotta take time off or do whatever, just not be on screen anymore. But I can rattle on incoherently about that at a later time, I guess, because on one hand it's a shocker, but on the other hand, I just don't see how that works in a wrestling context. Again, I know wrestling's a soap opera for dudes, allegedly, and we are getting out there with our telenovelas. I have tolerated the Cesar being Poppy because, you can work that into a power struggle storyline, but, I'm not sure where being preggers fits into this. Anywho, yeah, so I guess go ahead and tell me what you thought of that. Hit me up on the social medias. Also, stay tuned to find out the best ways to plug this here podcast and all the people that support me, etc., etc., etc. In the meanwhile, I'll catch you guys all next week. MLW Confusion is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and is hosted by Spotify for podcasters. MLW Confusion is part of the Urban Wrestling Network, and you can check them out on the Underground Rundown on YouTube at Urban Wrestling NW. Background music for this section is Ruined My Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is also helpful, as word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the descriptor, but the Twitter and Instagram are at The Nova of Cass, that is TheNovaofCass, and Facebook is at MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, and etc., please check out the tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer some more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that is CASSONOVA, whereas for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, The False Prophet, Alexander McCarthy, and Left Tendo, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Links will be below. For business inquiries such as ads and sponsorships, please email at rzkammer, that is Kamerer, at comcast.net. Thank you for listening.